Two will enter. Two will enter. One will win. Welcome to the fight. Welcome to the knockout.
Welcome, everyone, to the episode 22 of the Knockouts for the semifinal matchup between Poison Ivy and Darth Vader. It's been a fun season, but I have to say, I've given the voting link out to these guys actually for only shorter than most because I've been scheduling them so quickly here. But this has been the closest vote, going back and forth the entire time. Poison Ivy's ahead, then Darth Vader's ahead, Poison Ivy ahead. You know, ahead again here, going into the here. So last I checked, Poison Ivy was up, but only by a little bit. It can easily be overcome if enough people voted for Darth Vader. But please welcome my friend arguing for Poison Ivy, JP. Welcome, JP. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on? Looking forward to this. Gonna move into the. Gotta find a way to take care of Vader today so we can move into the finals and smack around John's comics with kids and his Doom. He's so scary because his name's Doom.
Yeah. Yeah, you were joking around with me earlier that you're like, just think John wants this more than you do.
John, I think he might be slightly more invested than I am, but I'm invested. I want to win, but I think John might be even more invested. And I think because he wants to beat me in the finals, I think it's really what it's about. So.
Yeah, it'll be a Comicgories reunion. Since we haven't had those in a while.
Comicgories reunion. So
all right.
Cover categories. It's how they have to. Their covers, best covers win.
Yeah. A guy who's arguing for Darth Vader is running a little late still, so we are going to. He's saying, hey, apparently he's going next. He's going to the border in El Paso at a friend's house. The internet keeps dropping and not letting me in. Oh, looks like I was going to cover.
Like you're maybe or arguing Vader.
Yeah, so I was going to be stepping up anyway, but I have an idea that I shouldn't post a link to the finals until the debate starts.
There you go.
I don't know about that.
Well, we have to do a good job of advertising so people are here to watch, so that we still get a bunch of votes. So
yeah, maybe I'll get together with John here and implement the strategy of 2 votes. A pre-vote, pre-finals, and a final vote. Kind of a thing.
You're gonna come in and argue. He said, "Well, send him the link, I guess."
Well, John, I'll gladly send the link to you if you want. Here, I have no problem.
Oh, he's coming after me. I see what it is. Now he's intimidated about facing me in the fight.
Well, it saves me the hassle of arguing, and I get to have more fun.
There you go.
So, there you go, John. Link's been sent to you. If you want to come argue for Vader, by all means, let's have some fun.
Uh-oh. There goes my win. There's my lead.
All that streaming he's done. All right, but we'll give John time to come in if he really wants to. So we'll let you get started again.
Okay.
With your opening statement. So take it away with Poison Ivy's opening statement.
All right. So I actually feel like this is a very straightforward matchup because it's a terrible matchup for Vader. And the reason is Vader is, if you want to say he's more powerful, but he's a brute force. But none of his actual attacks can permanently damage full power Ivy. He cuts her up little pieces with his lightsaber, and she's just gonna grow back. He tries to force choke her or use force lightning or whatever else you want to say, and she can breathe through her skin because she's mostly a plant. She's just gonna regenerate. It's not like he can't actually win on a permanent basis in this fight. Meanwhile, her strengths are his weaknesses, which is her ability to manipulate others. I'm not talking about using plants to fight. I'm talking about her ability to use pheromones and pollens and other things to control people's minds and turn them into working for her or co-opt them We know that he is susceptible to manipulation. How else did he end up becoming Vader? Is Palpatine tricked him and manipulated his into that position. We also know that he has terrible issues. He's got mommy issues, and he's a sucker for the women. And yeah, so if she uses her pheromones and other things to basically make him fall for her, he really doesn't have any kind of defense for that. So he ultimately just becomes fighting for her against whatever she wants to do, because yeah, he doesn't have a way to actually fight back against her in a truly effective way. So, because yeah, even if she fails the first time to take control, get him to, basically to manipulate him into falling in love with her, he just and cuts her down. She just goes back and keeps trying until he is under her control. And she's taking control of Superman or whatever, and others. She can take control of Vader. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, until John gets here, I'll begin his opening statement for him then. So, Darth Vader, JP here. Perfect.
There he is.
All right, John, go. Opening statement now.
Yeah. Hey, to me in the chat, John, let me tell you why I think Vader would win. Because, I obviously huge Star Wars fan. No, I really wasn't prepared for this. I will say this. Obi-Wan Kenobi's line. He's more machine now than man, I think, is going to help me against the woman side of this. I did joke with JP that this is a character, Anakin, who has a lot of issues with women and would struggle more because has avoided a lot of times battling women and instead has just been kind of manipulated by them. But that was Anakin, and I think Vader would have more success. Certainly, like Vader at the height of his abilities, I think would have more success. Would he? I mean, obviously in the realm of this game, we allow for more than just one-on-one combatants. So you're talking about Vader, his stormtroopers, whatever, against Ivy and her plants. I mean, even if stormtroopers can't hit most things, a whole bunch of plants they'd have better chance at, and a Death Star, all these things. I'm just talking off the top of my head. I don't know what I'm saying. I want Poison Ivy to win, so that's I'm biased, but that's mostly because I like boobs. But who is the bigger boob than Anakin? I really don't know. He is the king of the boobs. So vote for him.
So, there you go. That's
all I got. I mean, I haven't thought this through.
So, in my discussion before, I said like he couldn't permanently hurt her. There is a way that he could permanently hurt her, which is the Death Star could just blow up the planet and then shoot it. But the Death Star just got done and it just blew up.
But they're always building another one, right? They're always building another one.
The Death Star. It was complete. No, it got blown up again.
The 2024 model will be coming out any day now.
So I don't think the Death Star really is gonna get anywhere for them.
It doesn't factor into this, you don't think?
And no, I don't think so. And again, I think you say he's more machine now than man, but there's still a man at the center of it, and he still has the ability to fall victim to the pheromones and everything else that she produces. Just because he has a respirator on, it doesn't mean it's like protecting him from.
She can't kiss him, right? She can't have the lipstick.
She has other ways to do the same thing. Yeah. The original Ivy relied on kissing people. That's no longer what she does.
If it was Anakin, I would say you'd have a straight shot. But once he becomes Vader, for me, that's an interesting discussion of, because the only person in the entire time that he's Vader that seems to crack that visage is Luke when he's nearly dead. Right. Everybody else doesn't ever seem to get through to him.
So you say that, but the most recent current comic run that he's been like that's been going with him, which is Greg Pak. And
I'm excited to hear what you're going to say, but I will say you can make up and lie and say whatever you want now, and nobody on this show will know if you're telling the truth.
He runs and obviously there's a difference between just generic women and these particular women, but he runs into the Padme's handmaidens, and also the ones that used to like pretend to be her and all that kind of stuff.
Keira Knightley, right?
Yeah, Keira Knightley's characters, but there's like 5 of them that originally. So they all like he interacts with them, and he's just is like, oh, they look like Padme. Oh, like he's just as bad.
Gotcha.
Now, ultimately, I shouldn't say just as bad, but he's pretty like she manipulates him pretty well. I mean, he eventually pulls himself out of it, but he falls for it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Anakin version, I think, would stand no chance, and I think that's if we were to go that way, this is no contest, because if you look at Anakin, he is just so, I mean, obviously whiny, but like also like just really fragile, like, internally, and but the question is, how fragile is like Vader in his prime? And I don't know where the Greg Pak run fits in chronology with the other movies.
It's between Star Wars and it's between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Gotcha.
So it's between Empire and Return.
So that's about him and his height, right? That's like I mean, ultimately, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. What era would you say is Vader at his most powerful?
I would say he's probably more powerful before Luke ever comes on the scene.
So between Rogue One and
between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One kind of thing. Like
I would say between Rogue One and the Obi-Wan series here.
Rogue One is after the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah. Between there, when that would be his.
So between okay, so between the Obi-Wan series and Rogue One is what you're saying?
Yeah.
There? Okay.
Yeah, because I do think the moment he realizes who and what Luke is, like mentally, he's not like, whereas he's been like this on a, none of
it's the seed of doubt. Luke's existence becomes the seed of doubt.
It becomes the seed of doubt. So I would say that when he does, so that does like work against him when he runs into like Padme's thing, because he's already got these thoughts about kids, like that's part of why he ends up running into them, is because he's trying to find out exactly what happened.
You said something about him not being able to use the Force to choke her because she would be faster than the Force.
No, because she can breathe through her skin.
Right.
She can't.
But he could crush her, right? I mean, we've seen him crush entire spaceships, right?
Right, and she grows back. Like, if you talk about
but how quickly will it take her to regenerate?
Version.
Okay, yeah. The godlike version.
Queen Ivy is what they call her. Or whatever.
But if Poison Ivy can breathe through her skin, and Vader wouldn't know that, and if he does, as usual, I'm going to force choke you, then she could play along with that, and then
choke me, Daddy, choke me.
Not quite.
So like in a physical confrontation,
right?
Like, she is not going to be able to, like, he can physically, like, he's going to just keep like basically tearing her apart, like, but he can't actually kill her in the Queen Ivy form, because she will literally just regenerate.
Right.
And so, like, he doesn't have a way to truly defeat her. And so all she has to do is eventually get through the mask and get him thing. And then, because where his mind is generally, like, I believe she basically, like you talked about the stormtroopers and everything else, basically she ends up using him as a weapon against Empire forces is really what I think.
So your vision of this is manipulating his psyche to the extent that he's her puppet.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would have to be the only way, one of the only ways it could win, because in this scenario, Ivy can regenerate, and Vader with the Vader now as Anakin in the future here and all that, you got the Force after figures. There is no such thing as death now. with the Jedi, so no one's dying in this matchup.
Well,
Wow.
technically, they are dead. They can just still communicate. But
Right. But he can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
But Yoda lit a tree on fire, and Luke raised the X-wing out of the swamp. So even if they're dead, they're still affecting. So therefore, death is
I
not.
do think this is one of those interesting things because it is just, it's a unique matchup in the fact that because of the nature of the way he uses the Force, is he is just a blunt object. He's a tank. He's a sword. I mean, he is just one purpose, killing, destroying machine. He doesn't have a lot of the subtlety that some of the other Force users that she's a bad matchup for him because her strengths play on his weaknesses, which is his ability to be manipulated, his emotional state. Like, she plays on his weaknesses in a way that makes him more vulnerable, I think, to her than a lot of the other people that would have been in this list.
Right.
So, and I don't think, and again, because we're doing the way we're playing this game, it's like at her most powerful. But even when she's not been at her most powerful, like she's died on multiple occasions, and she literally just grows back. It just takes longer. Like when she's more powerful, she can do it faster.
Which maybe is, and this is meta gaming in a way, but maybe this is the challenge of having a strictly like sci-fi character versus a comic book character, because comic book characters always come back, but Vader died and he's dead. He's not going to return. So there is no in that universe, he doesn't have the same flexibility of writing that a comic character has.
He's comic book now too.
but they're not going to bring him back from his death at the end of Return of the Jedi ever. That comic book will not be written.
Red Hope.
Vader, it's not Vader down, it's Vader reborn.
I mean, they have been bringing him back because they use the Force Ghost thing to bring him back. But but
it's Anakin when they do that, right?
Darth Vader, Rise of the Machine.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, this is definitely a fun mashup. Where does the Force fall in this against Ivy? Because you said Ivy and her pheromones and Mother Nature and all that, but the Force is something that I don't know if she's had a lot of familiarity with, unless you include things like the Martian Manhunter and people like that, and Dr. Fate, who have psychic powers.
So
she's connected to the green in a the Swamp Thing is, which is a mystical force in its own way, right?
Yeah. The green is, in a lot of ways, you could say is very comparable because it's part of all living things. It's the whole kind of
good points.
Like it's the whole part of that. So
does the green have a dark side? I guess there's the red, which they talk about in Animal Man.
Brown,
right? There's the green and the red both inside of that universe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yoda.
I don't know if they've really ever, and maybe they have in like some Swamp Thing stuff. Nothing I've ever read really has talked about the green. The green is more the way they talk about it. It tends to be more neutral. It's life, like in a way, but it's not like there's not like a dark side, light side kind of thing. It's just the it's kind of a life force. It's not. Yeah.
I don't know, you got things like the Venus flytrap, thorns on plants, and even the on Dagobah there was that dark area of the planet where for some reason like the dark side was more alive there. So I mean, there is a good and evil. I mean, it makes sense that there would be a mystic force that would be having an evil side with it as well, and not just.
I think she would probably say, and maybe Swamp Thing too, that the green doesn't have a good or a bad. It just exists, right?
Yeah.
It is just alive, and it doesn't have malevolence any more than it has like kindness. It just continues to thrive and feed itself to perpetuate itself. Versus the Force, which really very clearly is, at least in my understanding, and again, I'm not as knowledgeable as JP, but seems to be more connected to, at least my understanding of human nature and the concept that free will is a part of that and allows for how are you using this power.
Yeah. See, I think that I would say, and again, others could argue differently, but to me, I think of the Force as more of, again, it's neither good or bad. It just, depending on how you use it and how the the person is driving how it's being used and how it's being much like, we talk about the green, like Woodrow, who's a villain for her, who taps into it and uses it for even darker purposes than what she does.
Right.
And so, or Swamp Thing does. So I do think there's a little bit of a similarity there, and it depends on how you're using it itself. I don't think the Force necessarily, they talk about the light side and the dark side, but I really think that's just talking about how you're controlling yourself as you interact with it.
Right.
To use it in a positive way.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any way for her to be caught unaware by it, because certainly magic and people with powers are not anything new to her. So certainly, and it's not like Vader shows up quietly. I feel like every time he sneaks up on somebody, I'm like, you can't hear that dude breathing 5 blocks away. Like, holy cow.
And he doesn't use the Force. Like we've seen.
And he doesn't show up. It's not like Vader shows up and you're like, I wonder if that's a nice guy. You like, holy crap! Like that guy shows up, and you're like, "Dad, run, scream, run, flee."
Well,
so she's gonna instantly feel threatening, like energy coming from him. So I don't think he has a chance. Vader is not one for subtlety or nuance. Yeah. He shows up with his army, and he's come to destroy. And if he comes to, if he brings, the stormtroopers down to defeat Ivy, she will know what she's in for immediately. There's not any question. And it does sound like it would be the scenario I imagined was be, Ivy's got her, I don't want to say planet, but portion of a planet that she has created as her utopia, and he has come to destroy it. And so it's he and his forces versus her and her plant army or whatever. And that, that battle is what we're really discussing, because it's not an arena battle. It's not a one-on-one. These two, it would never, I can't imagine it anyways.
Yeah. They definitely have a lot more in common than I originally thought. Like I said, the Force and the green, they both sound, so similar to that. They just are, and it's what you put into it and how it controls it. So yeah, these are two very powerful characters that are just, it's their intent. In which case, I would tend to be a little more fearful of the darker user rather than Ivy, who's more plant itself, life itself. She's,
Ivy is, and this comes back to a little bit of who Ivy is versus who he is at the stage when he's truly Vader, which is. Yeah, she's a villain, but she's basically, she doesn't really consider herself a villain most of the time. She's trying to, for lack of a better word, save the planet. And if it means people need to go in order to save the planet, well, then that's a sacrifice she's willing to make.
Makes total sense.
It's a little bit of the Thanos thing, or, from her perspective of like, hey, humans are destroying this world. I'm going to protect it. And that means protecting it from humans.
Yeah.
Whereas Vader is, when he's completely in full Vader mode, like when there's no Luke around, there's no Padme, it's just the Emperor sending him. It is, I'm going to conquer, I'm going to destroy for the Empire. This is standing in the way of our peace and tranquility in the galaxy that he thinks he brought.
Because Poison Ivy is going to definitely add chaos to the galaxy, and that's not going to be okay for the Emperor.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
Those emotional women need to be eliminated so that the evil male-dominated Empire can control everything. Miss So knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's on Vader's side with this.
She's rooting for Vader,
Yeah. So definitely a lot of fun
here. I wrote question mark next to Vader's name here because I like Poison Ivy better, but
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Hashtag vote boobs.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of fun here. But yeah, really the only thing that would clearly favor one side versus the other is, the use of the Death Star itself. Because if Poison Ivy was
it got blown up again.
hold on, wait. They just built a new one.
When was the last
Wedge just blew it up again.
When was the last time the green
putting that exhaust port on it?
When
was the last time the green survived in space? It seems pretty earthbound.
I would concede that if they came with the intent to blow up the planet, and it hadn't gotten blown up yet.
Right.
They've only successfully, 2 Death Stars, they've only successfully destroyed 1 planet. So
a lot of hard work building those things and really not a lot of payoff.
So, I'm going to say the success ratio there is pretty low.
It is. It really is.
Although they exploded
more
a
often
few
than
jets.
not,
and we're done.
it's a troop invasion, right? They're dropping like their forces. This is a Hoth. This is they're dropping stormtroopers, and that is the vast majority of the way they took worlds. Is not a Death Star coming in and destroying it.
It's a ground invasion.
Doesn't necessarily. He wants the threat of destroying worlds, but he wants the worlds to exist. He just wants them under his thumb so that he can use the resources.
Which is where your army of stormtroopers, your AT-ATs, and your TIE fighters and all these things come into play, which is an interesting discussion because Ivy doesn't have like typical minions like armies. What she has are these plant warriors, these vines, and these things that would, I mean, heck, you could argue stormtroopers couldn't even beat little Care Bears. Like, I mean, at what point does the Ivy stop them, right?
And here's the thing: how like
this Miss So, yes.
Stormtroopers themselves are potentially vulnerable to her pollen, pheromones. Like,
good point.
Like her ability to like take control of them and turn them against each other is really her main defense here. Her like the ability to control plants is not her. What it's going to take the day for her. It's her. She's going to have to, like, this is going to be a force that, like, straight out, she's not going to be able to just, like, fight. She's going to have to use her ability to take control of people and bend them to her will, make them, yes, Mistress Ivy kind of thing,
So you see a scenario then when the invading ground force gets turned on itself. Yeah. And you have, even among the invading teams, you now have factions of those who've been affected and impacted by her and those who haven't.
Yes.
And you think that at no point would the respiration system protect them, or would they adapt the system to avoid her pheromones?
I see a point.
Would they know to? Like,
I mean, they would figure it out pretty quick.
Would they? We're talking about stormtroopers in the Empire.
Again, they couldn't beat Care Bears. I get it.
They can't, like, I'm like, this is not like high, like, I realize there's high science in Star Wars in terms of space travel and equipment and that kind of stuff. But in terms, we have not.
Is there? Because you still hear explosions in space and you shouldn't.
Yeah. But we don't see, like, them actually, the kind of science that it would take to figure out how to counteract her powers, her ability.
But even if Ivy pheromoned the stormtroopers, you're dealing with Darth Vader. The Kenobi series here, and this I have to argue this point for Chris for Vader wouldn't let him down. Vader's pulling ships down to the ground, rips the side off there. You don't think he can go, 20 weak minus stormtroopers, crunch. All right, you're next.
And then the next ones that walk through the air that she has put her pollen and everything else to and breathe it in, then he has to do it again. So then even if he's not under her control, then he's fighting his own troops instead of her.
They are the weak. They deserve to die.
Yeah. Well, which is, again, sort of his whole, like, he is a blunt force instrument, and this is not a battle that necessarily that's the best approach, like, in dealing with her. Like, he doesn't necessarily have the subtlety that it takes to understand what she's doing and, like, counteract it in a productive way, other than, I'm going to lash out at it and try to cut it up, and then, like, and then she and her plants just grow back.
Because hasn't Batman had masks that were able to protect him from her pheromones and stuff?
Usually what he's done is, like, generally he's basically had a anti-toxin in his bloodstream.
So he's prepared in advance for the, like, serum.
In advance to deal with it. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to imagine, like, I don't understand their respiratory systems that they wear that help them breathe, because they clearly do breathe in those things. It's interesting. He could seal her up for all eternity. Miss So, I love it.
So when have we seen him be able to manipulate the Force in that way, though? But that's
To
my
do what?
point. Like Vader, like there's other Force users that we've seen have tried to do things like that.
Like what? Do what?
Like, actually like try to like create use it to like
for defense
or whatever. We've never really seen somebody try to encase somebody in like a Force bubble. But he's not that type of Force user. Like he is
a fighter.
He's a fighter.
Yeah,
like,
he comes at it from the point of view of a pilot, right? So a lot of his stuff is this perception of like shoot and go fast and hit hard.
Yeah. And
like you're saying, the subtlety that other Jedi have, he does not.
No. And it's not to say that he couldn't, but he's never shown a proclivity for using the Force in those types of ways. It's always he uses it to guide his fighting, or he uses it as I'm going to shove you, I'm going to crush this, I'm going to choke you. He has shown the ability to use the Force in that kind of with subtlety at all. You know what I mean? So
maybe Miss So, or he would need to be taught. But my feeling is that, and I don't know how quickly she produces those pheromones and how vast and she could control. Because if you're talking about just mass armies, at some point I feel like they would I don't know. Could by sheer numbers.
The only time
could she be overwhelmed?
The only time I've seen Vader truly have that perception in that regard is when around Padme, when he seemed to when he's talking to Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones, and all of a sudden he stops when those centipedes are crawling up, Padme to assassinate her. He sent something like a split second before Kenobi did, and they went and saved her life. But otherwise, I had one other point I thought about. Just I lost it, but I forget. Go on. I'll remember.
I was just for me, it's the massive army invasion versus really one woman and her plants. And I get the pheromones could start to impact the soldiers, but at some point, either they would become aware, like this is a problem. Let's only send retrofitted soldiers into this scenario, and then I think, given time and the sheer quantity of people that they're sending,
that's
she
where
would
I
struggle.
Think it comes down to her ability to use it on him.
Yes.
Because then if she turns him,
right,
then she doesn't, then she can unleash brute force, and he's going to decimate massive amounts of his troops.
Right.
Which we've seen in the comics. Because that's really what her end game is, to turn him on to turn him, not to turn the troops
to get close enough to him to make him the target.
Yeah. Because her only chance is he's the power source that actually can stand up to the army that she's facing.
And I would love to better understand his breathing apparatus, because it does seem like he is in no way connected to the air like around him. Even when they take his helmet off, there's that like sound of like
it is a respirator, basically.
Right.
Like he's breathing the air from the outside, but it's going in. But they've shown no indication that it has the type of filters at this stage that would affect. Like,
I'm just gonna say it does. Screw you, JP.
Finn in the new movies said, of course, this might be for the clones, not Vader himself, but said their respirators filtered out things like smoke or something, but they didn't filter out something else. So those are not top of the line. Of course, it also could just mean, you're only stormtroopers. There's a million more of you in the galaxy.
But mine is better because I'm the commander. I got the better gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely.
But obviously there is air going in and out, because they even show in that shot when you see the smoke going in and then coming out. Yeah. It's not like a complete internal system.
No.
It does inhale, exhale. Definitely clever. I feel like he would play dumb if needed for her to let her guard down, and then he could see and develop other strategies to incapacitate her permanently. Interesting.
Yeah. But
And I do think, again, if you're talking about TIE fighters and you're talking about AT-ATs and you're talking about a full assault, sure, you might get some of the ground level troops, but the big machines are laying waste to her plants and to her system.
She's not walking away from she's not walking away from whatever paradise she's built. It's not walking away intact. I mean, it's gonna even if she wins, she's gonna have to for lack of a better term, rebuild. What they're going after for sure. So the question is, can she get close enough and then make it basically if he's filtering particles, okay, then maybe some of her pollens don't work, but that doesn't mean her pheromones don't work.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that kind of filtration, I doubt he has in terms of protecting him from that.
Nothing can protect you from those boobies.
That's right.
Yeah. Vader,
but I mean, if he's in his TIE fighter and he's just blasting plants and vines and things down.
Yeah, but Vader's
he's a pilot. He's plenty of times in that sweet little the X-wing with the bended
he's
wings.
taking on other ships.
I don't even know what that ship is called. The X-wing with the bended wings. What's it called?
Vader is definitely
the TIE fighter with the bended wings.
Vader and Anakin are definitely. He led military, he led troops, and so he's so he had to be strategic.
He's a general.
He's
battle commander.
All that. His fighting is definitely more straightforward. He is more the fighter type and all that. Obi-Wan was more the inclusive, more aware than Vader was.
He was a general. Obi-Wan was a general. Don't rob him of his.
All the Jedi were.
They were both Vader. They were both generals.
Vader was
battlefield commanders.
Yeah, Vader was definitely the fighter of the kind of thing. That's how his fighting style was, his power was. He would, unless he was aware of poison ivy beforehand, he does tend to run headlong into things at times. Of course, that was Anakin. that was Anakin who ran headlong into things and lost an arm because of it. But then again, when he met the second time, then he matched up.
Yeah, if you watched Clone Wars, he lost the arm at the beginning of at the movie. There's the puppy dog, so I may have to go here pretty soon. But
yeah,
but if you watch the Clone Wars, it didn't really stop him from just running headlong in. Obi-Wan constantly what are you doing?
Yeah, but we are at 38 minutes in here. We can go ahead and do final arguments here and then start wrapping things up here. So that way we can figure out just who John is going to be facing again. And
hopefully I don't have to do both sides. Yeah, that would be really awkward.
But all I know is that this time for the championship round, I will not definitely be arguing for a side and all that. I have to get two people there because I can't carry a championship matchup. That would be unfair to the players. So, all right. But since John here is who's the unprepared side of Vader, we'll kick things back over to JP to begin the closing statement, so John can have his last final word. So take it away, Poison Ivy.
All right. So hopefully the dog will be quiet enough that we can do this. I just stand by my original approach, which is he doesn't have a defense for her ability to manipulate him going in, and he doesn't actually have a way to defeat her permanently. Again, she's just gonna grow back even if he cuts her down, and he is a blunt force object, but he doesn't have the subtlety, I don't think, to defeat her in this way. I just think it's a really bad matchup for him and for Anakin the way they go about this. But so that's where I stand on this.
Yeah. That was the guy who was supposed to be originally be filling in for Chris, Nick's collector. So he just still has no internet. So
it happens, brother. We totally understand.
No worry, Nick. John here jumped into the last minute to help argue for you. So we've been helping Vader along here. So all right, Darth Vader, what is your final word from the dark side?
I think in this case, one of the strongest benefits Vader has is an army. And I think you're talking about aircraft, firepower. You're talking about ground assault vehicles. You're talking about things that I think would, at least for a long time, protect from whatever pheromones she's trying to project to take care of troops. And I think ultimately would cause a huge dent. And before she would even be able to like control a huge group, they would have a massive assault success. Then even after she tried to maybe manipulate them, I think they would make alterations to their gear to protect them from these things. And it would be to his benefit as an army. Is he a fragile male? Yes. Are women his weakness? Yes. But I do think by the time he gets there, he is still more man than machine, and absolutely would be able to overcome those lady bits.
Yeah, because whatever the outcome, we can argue boobs always wins.
I mean, right.
All right, so I dropped the voting link one last time here just now. Get those votes in, because I've been keeping an eye on it off and on here, the whole chat here, and it's
went back and forth. I looked at it while ago. It is fun.
This is the closest, hardest fought matchup in voting since last season's championship between John and like the two YouTubers.
Oh man, that was insane. I was like 10. In fact, if you pull up that votes today, I won. But it was like my army arrived way too late to succeed and beat in that.
We're definitely gonna have to. All right, we'll have to definitely have a setup of, okay, the voting link is here to here, so
right.
we'll be arguing in circles until this point, and then the voting will officially be done over. Can't vote anymore, and then we will go to the total, just to see who wins. Then, because like I said, I cut it. I had to cut it off because I did not. That's when I started setting in.
It's gotta end sometimes. That's why they have the final buzzer in sports.
You gotta draw the line.
That's why I started setting up those in votes and all that. So, all right, let's get that up here while the people are doing that. Let's see where it is. And whoever wins, I have to show. I mean, if Poison Ivy wins, I have to show artwork related to.
You better get ready then.
I had, like I said, it was so easy to find stuff for Vader versus Doom that if Vader does not make it to the championship round after this season's over, I have to have Doom versus Vader. That's just
because he already has all the art done.
Yeah, I already have all the artwork done, and it's just so pretty. It's not going to be wasted.
Chris can blame me. Definitely, obviously, the pinch hitter did not do.
Well, it's not exactly your fandom. We would probably been better off if we just switched.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might be a better person to have argued the other side on this one.
Yeah, well, as long as
and I've been promoting boobs like for the last few days.
I've been to help me win.
The only reason this is close is because I was running this for JP on the slide.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing Mark from Legion didn't show up. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be Poison Ivy sails to victory.
That's who I need to reach out to before the final.
I'm going to call him out. I'm happy to call Mark out right here and right now. Mark is a hypocrite because he's like, oh, the DC characters, I'm going to fight for the DC characters. And then arguments like this come up and he's like, yeah, but I like Darth Vader. He's a hypocrite.
But it'll be Ivy versus Doom. So I can get,
because he was all about it when it was Mr. Freeze fighting Lord knows who, Dormammu. But then Poison Ivy fights Skynet and he's like, I believe in Skynet. What? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You can tell him I said it. You can tell him.
Yeah. All right. So the results are in here.
All right. Let's see.
The winner.
I was ahead, I was behind, I was ahead, but I was behind.
Dr. Doom faces Poison Ivy with 40 votes. Vader with 36.
Like, I looked not that long ago and it was like 36-35 Vader or something.
Yeah, so this is I agree with Mark and
I'm not saying I disagree with what he's saying on Vader and Skynet. I'm disagreeing on when he fought for Mr. Freeze over Dormammu and then claimed it in the name of DC fandom, but he wouldn't do it for Poison Ivy. Clearly he just doesn't like boobs, and we've learned this
like
about
boobs.
Mark. He doesn't like it. He likes freeze rays and not boobs. It's okay. Well, everybody's got their thing.
You know what this means, John? You're not done after the championship. You're going to be back to argue for Dr. Doom.
We have to do this again, John.
You're gonna be back to argue for Dr. Doom, facing off against someone who argues for Vader. Just so I can.
What? You mean I have to do 2 finals now?
Well, if
No,
you argue Doctor Doom the
okay.
entire time, I have
Yeah.
to let you have Doctor Doom an exhibition matchup. So
You mean Doom is so awesome and so powerful, he needs to just do one-on-ones against everybody.
So one of the reasons why I was
Doom.
You know, Doom would absolutely agree to that.
all right. So
He'll be like, I'll destroy everyone.
one of the reasons why, before anyone leaves, this is one of the reasons why I was so disappointed, that I have to have Darth Vader in there, because this is like one of the perfect little artworks to show up. This is one of those fictional cross covers. This thing here, literally,
Oh,
it's over, Vader, yield or die. Never, not while there's the dark side of the Force. Still flows
within me.
just like things like this is just like so dang perfect. I cannot waste it.
I mean, I get it.
I bet you can talk this guy into coming back for that at some point.
Yeah. So
I show up even when it's not my show.
Season 4 championship. It's good to be bad. It's going to be Doctor Doom versus Poison Ivy. It will be these two going at it.
I'm honestly trying to figure out how I've gotten here, but sure.
Yeah. I know exactly how I've gotten here.
It's boobs.
Yeah.
The power of boobs.
Yeah. So
John's relentless spamming of the link.
Yeah. So
I meant before I even got this far, like the first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
So, well, Legion will be impressed. So, Miss So, again, if you want to be a part of the knockout and Chris doesn't want to be on the show, you're more than welcome to argue Darth Vader. So,
well, that'll be a.
So, all right. So, I will reach out to you guys again behind the scenes here. We'll schedule the knockout championship at some point. Again, I'm thinking very end of the year or beginning of next year, just so you guys can have a few weeks of preparation and all that.
A few weeks for John to build like a 50-vote lead.
I remember him from the championship matchup of last season. We're talking like 200-300 vote lead. So
yeah. All I know is John has the ability to like make cool videos, and I don't.
I would say the time and the interest, not the ability.
Well, JP, I would recommend.
Well, maybe, yeah.
JP, I recommend you reach out to Life with Two YouTubers here, and
I need to get Sharon to help me defeat.
Get Sharon and her boy to make
the Batman villain. So Sharon would be, I
did get her to vote for Ivy this time around.
There you go.
She got the whole family in.
All right. So Darth Vader, Doctor Doom versus Poison Ivy coming up soon on the Knockout Championship. I'll see you guys next time for the show. Until then, take care. Happy collecting, everyone.